Today, Washington State head coach Jake Dickert confirmed the rumors that started swirling last night after a group chat was leaked from the WSU football team that stated John Mateer was reaching out to his teammates stating that he was going to be entering the transfer portal and that there was a specific university that gave them an offer that he can't pass up. So today we're going to get through the Jake Dickert press conference, live react to this, and then get into some other details.
All right, obviously I'll open up with a statement. Met with John last night. Came back from his sister's graduation, had a lot of good family time. We talked about that last week on Friday. He has to make a big decision for his life, and college football is in a different place than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, however we remember it. John will be the most sought-after player in the portal. I think he's going to be the best player in the country next year, and he informed us that he is, in fact, going to hit the portal. Biggest thing for our program is it proves, once again, our process is working. Our process is working. Right, we're offering a bunch of kids that have no other Power 5 offers. We're developing into something really, really special. And I've said a lot about things the last couple of weeks. I talked in signing day about the recruiting calendar being messed up and we got to change it. I talked last Friday, there's $800 million of new Power 4, rev share money that's infiltrated into the system right now. And, backups at that level are getting 50 to 100,000. So college football is in a little bit of a weird place. As Cougs, I'm really proud that we'll continue to adapt. With the new type model and the equivalency model, I've talked to Ann and she's been very supportive that we will enhance kind of our scholarships to get more players to create more depth for us moving forward. So we'll need to do that. We'll need to continue to attack this process. I'm excited for this opportunity for Zevi. He's done a really good job throughout the course of the season, being a great leader, being a great teammate, staying really positive, being a backup, and just really excited about that opportunity for him. So, our team is united. We had great energy today, and we're ready to attack what's next.
So a lot to cover there. First off, John Mateer headed to Missouri to visit with his family for his sister's graduation from grad school, and it sounds like that WSU had a very competitive offer heading into this weekend. I've confirmed with sources that WSU's offer was in the range of $1.2 million. Now the rumored offer from an SEC school via CougFan.com is in the range of $3 million to $3.5 million. Dickert stated that John Mateer is going to be the most highly sought-after player in the portal, and that is absolutely true. He is now at number 1 on the leaderboard after entering the transfer portal. He is rated at a 4-star, a 0.95 out of a 1 overall. And Dickert also mentioned that this means that WSU's system is working. When John Mateer was recruited to Washington State was the only Power 5 offer for John Mateer at the time. He was rated as the 124th quarterback coming out of high school. He was rated as a 3-star and 82 overall. And WSU was able to develop him over the past few years. He was sitting behind Cam Ward for 2 seasons. They developed him on this short timeline into one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the entire country. He led the country in total points, total touchdowns, and if you watch my most recent video, I go through a lot of those big stats that makes him stand out. And as Dickert also mentioned, the transfer portal is completely messed up, especially the timing of when it's happening. The transfer portal right now is open from December 9th through December 28th. For the Cougars right now, there are 20 players that have now entered the portal since December 9th. For WSU alone, they are now up to 20 players that have entered the portal since December 9th. All of these players entering the portal are in part due to Ben Arbuckle heading to Oklahoma, as well as the quarterback coach. The running back coach is at Utah. Running back Wayshawn Parker is expected to go to Utah. He's down to between Arizona and Utah. And you think of Marshall. They won their conference. They had a coaching change. Over 25 players have now entered the transfer portal, and they are now not able to field a team for their bowl game. At the very least, the transfer portal window needs to be moved until after the bowl games. Otherwise, these bowl games will not be meaningful whatsoever unless it's a college football playoff game.
Not about John hitting the portal, and kind of what was your reaction to hearing about that?
I talked to him last night. It was a private conversation. Told me how he felt about us and how much he appreciated our program, and obviously disappointed. Disappointed. It's a tough result. Really thankful for Cougs everywhere that poured into everything that it took to try to keep him here. But at the end of the day, he wanted to play on a bigger stage, and I think that was the main cause of most of this.
Like I described earlier, the Cougar Collective and what they've done for WSU athletics up to this point, we just had one of the founders of the Cougar Collective on the podcast the other day and talking through the first NIL players. Max Borghi was the first player that was really embracing it. When they were trying to get Cam Ward to come over from Incarnate Ward, that was their first big shell out of money. I think it was like $50,000 to get and retain Cam Ward for those 2 years. The fact that WSU was able to come together with everyone as a whole, with Northern Quest Casino, all these other donors, WSU-owned businesses, to bring their offer to over $1 million, that is absolutely massive. Jake Dickert also mentioned here that Mateer wants to play on a bigger stage. I completely get that. If it's the University of Oklahoma or if it's any SEC team, obviously the SEC is going to bring you more eyeballs. Like, the reason why John Mateer was not in the Heisman conversation is because of the media bias. A majority of the country seems to write off WSU year in and year out. It's a small market. A lot of the games are played in evenings on the West Coast time, so it's past the bedtime for people that live on the East Coast. If he has the same production that he had this year at Oklahoma, he's winning the Heisman.
The process for calling plays in the bowl game now that John is out, what's kind of your thinking there?
Well, Coach Edwards would take over the offense. I think those guys have done a good job putting together a game plan that's going to fit Zevi, and that's first down, base down, third downs. But we'll be as creative as we can be with our personnel that we have. And, there's a lot of fire and a lot of fight in this football team. Don't think they're not going to show up there down in San Diego. There's a lot of fight in this football team. So I love the game plan so far. There's a lot of good, tough things. We did a bunch of third down periods today, and we'll have red zone on Wednesday.
As you mentioned, Zevi Eckhouse will be starting in the Holiday Bowl. He was a redshirt this year to preserve one more season. If John Mateer would have stayed, Zevi would have transferred somewhere else to play. But since John Mateer is transferred, this opens up the opportunity for Zevi to play next year.
There was still a lot of energy at practice. When did the team find out about his decision, and what's kind of the vibe, I guess, for lack of a better word, in the locker room right now?
Well, I think you can ask the guys that. I think they found out last night, soon after I did a little bit. So these things are never as smooth or as easy. This is a player's game. This has been the most united locker room that I've been in through my 3 years here. Through all of our exit meetings, guys have really talked about that, and it's going to need to unite even more through this adversity. So the people that want to wear the Cougs and represent us, we'll keep moving forward, and those guys showed up today, and really proud of those guys. It was a heck of a competitive day, and I thought the vibe was good today.
As coaches,
speaking of the guys coming together, a guy like Josh Meredith, who is quoted saying that he bleeds Cougar blood. We're going to be having Josh Meredith on the podcast after the Holiday Bowl is up. So I'm excited to talk to him. He is a passionate through and through Cougar. We need more guys like that.
obviously you said you think you have one of the most sought after rosters, and we're kind of aware some guys were getting talked to by other schools. Is it frustrating to you when you try to play by the rules and things kind of still don't go your way, and at what point do you kind of think you might change?
Well, I think the first step is realizing there are no rules. That's the first step. I mean, tampering is now part of it. It's a word that's a buzzword for everyone to use. But if you're not recruiting other people's rosters, it feels like in today's world that you're going to fall behind. So it does put us in a tough spot. There's agents that shop kids. Even if teams aren't. So it's a really unique circumstance that we're kind of dealing with all at once. Obviously before the playoffs. I talked to the team that was in the playoffs, and they've lost 5 or 6 backups before the playoffs start. Depth pieces that they need. So, like I said, it's a unique time in college football, and we got to keep adapting, and that's what we'll do here.
I'm curious.
As Jake mentioned, he mentioned that there are no rules. And when I looked at the NCAA website and guidelines for transferring, for the transfer portal, for recruiting players from high school, there was no recruiting players to the transfer portal or when you could talk to players or any of that stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong and put a link in the comments section to the rule that states that you can't contact another player from another university. But there really is no such thing as tampering because there is no rule stating that you can't contact players, which is completely absurd. That has to change. And what I think is hilarious is that an Oklahoma-type beat writer similar to CougFan came out with this article stating that sources say that John Mateer is going to enter the transfer portal with a no-contact tag, likely. A no-contact tag? What even is that? John Mateer has been contacted. His family has been contacted via DM, other methods from various NILs, from universities, I'm sure, from coaches. But now he's going to enter the transfer portal with a no-contact tag? It seems pretty obvious if this is the case that Mateer has already made his decision on where he's going to be going, and it seems that it's likely Oklahoma.
For you as a coach, is it hard for you when you get home or you're done with practice or a game to turn off your brain from all of this craziness and all of the ever-changing stuff in this new era? Does it come home with you, and does it kind of?
I'm hiring 2 new coordinators, a running backs coach, calling plays for the defense, coaching the linebackers, dealing with transfer portal visits and recruits. There is no time to shut it down. Not to mention Jet won the Walla Walla basketball tournament this weekend. That was the best news I've had in a long time. 10 years ago, this time of year, you would put your feet up. At night, I'd be drinking a beer and celebrating bringing back one of the best teams in Washington State history next year, right? So it's just obviously unique and different, and December has changed quite a bit, and not just for us. I keep saying that. It always comes off like coaches are complaining. It's just trying to navigate all these things as we continue to adjust in real time. Like, that's what this is. You're adjusting and navigating something in real time, and it's hard to judge. And maybe I misfired a little bit on $800 million in the market. Everyone would have to go out and fill rosters in a unique and different way. So there'll be some stabilizing hopefully next year.
Last one for me.
All the credit to Jake Dickert and this coaching staff. He has lost his offensive coordinator. They fired the defensive coordinator. They've lost the quarterback coach, the running back coach. As he mentioned, he has to play call for defense. For offense, they're still figuring things out. The amount of moving pieces that he's having to deal with to try to bring in new players, to retain current players, the stress has got to be off the charts. And again, all the credit to Jake Dickert, his current coaching staff, and who he brings in on dealing with this absolute mess.
Are we able to know any details about that NIL package offered to John now that we know he's turning it down?
No, no. It won't come from me, but I know it was 7 figures. It was strong. It was everything that I could have imagined and more. Really proud of that. And, I think our team of people were really invested in that. So, yes, that was a big-time deal by our people, and I thought that was really special.
That deal that was put together for John, is that money that now could be used to fill other parts of the roster?
We'll have to check through that.
Northern Quest Casino came up with a package that was specific to John Mateer, the $1.2 million that is for John Mateer to be as a part of the ad campaign for whatever businesses we're pulling in. John Mateer leaves, that money is now gone. That's not just sitting there in a pool. That was set aside for John Mateer to be a part of those businesses. The question now becomes on how much money WSU and the Cougar Collective now have to utilize to retain players to bring other guys in.
And then just when you saw as you just talked about it before, the Cougar Collective and the alumni coming together, does that give you faith that Wazoo is, the supporters, the fans are warming up to this idea of NIL and able to kind of go to bat for future rosters?
Well, I think it's probably a combination of both, right? They are rallying, they are doing really great things, and then sometimes I would imagine there's probably a little bit of frustration when guys do leave, so I think there's a mix of a bunch of different emotions, I would imagine, which is, I think, fair for everybody. But at the end of the day, just really proud of, our fan base and really the collective and what they have done to put this all together, right? Through the beer, through the coffee, through the fundraisers, through the match campaigns. We got to continue to navigate because I think in that realm we're doing really, really well. And that thing has grown exponentially, and I think it will continue to grow. So those will be pieces that this program will need going forward.
Any players who have not yet declared that are still on the fence like John was, or is anybody who's already in?
I would hope that everybody's in. Yes. So that's what we go with. That's who came out in practice today, and that's who we're going to continue to invest in.
Basically, with rosters next year capped at 105, are you talking to some guys about entering the portal because they might not have a shot to make the team next year?
Well, I had to be really honest with all the walk-ons, for sure. 15 guys need to be cut. There's a couple that could say, yes, you absolutely have a spot, and some others that have to continue to earn it throughout the spring. So I got to be honest with the things that I tell these guys, right? So absolutely, there's some of that. There's some guys that, even scholarship guys, that need to go out and play. I've said that. And obviously guys that we were, counting on that, made different decisions.
One last Jamie question, if I may. What's Wazoo's plan for revenue sharing with its athletes from that, based on the health settlement?
I think we're still kind of putting that together. It's really going to be kind of donor-funded, internal sharing. So we're still working through that, and we're being as creative as possible to advance into this new age of college football.
Is there any update on the coordinators and kind of what's the timeline for that?
Really close. Really close. I feel really strongly about a big, broad pool of candidates that we have interviewed, and feel really close about hopefully making those announcements soon.
Also, all the credit to the Cougar Collective for what they've done to put together, bring everybody together to start the coffee, to start the beer. If you're an alumni, I know it's a really tough situation right now. It's hard to root or to donate towards a cause like this, to contribute towards a cause like this. But really now more than ever, we need to come together as Coug Nation, as alumni for Washington State University, pull together, stay strong, and let's keep putting a team in a program that is worth getting behind. What a day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Couch GM for more content like this, and we'll see you in the next one.